Well, fantasy football season approaching. Here's the top 15 kickers I'm ranking entering the season with drafts coming up this week and next before the season starts, September 4th. Number 1, Brandon Aubrey of the Dallas Cowboys. So since he's only been in the league a few years, he's already taken the league by storm. He's one of the best kickers in all pro football is Brandon Aubrey. Unlimited range. Obviously, most of his home games are indoors in Dallas, World in Dallas, where this offense, they've stalled out a lot over the last few seasons, where he's had to settle for a lot of 45, 50-plus yard field goals. So like I said, it doesn't matter on the field where the Cowboys are. If they're within 60-yard field goal range, they're going to trot Brandon Aubrey out there in this season. I think this offense is going to be better. Obviously, adding George Pickens to the receiving room. Dak Prescott to be healthier. With last season, he missed the majority of the season. So Brandon Aubrey, once again, opportunities will be there. And like I said, he's got unlimited range and easily the number 1 kicker coming into the year. Number 2, Cameron Dicker of the Los Angeles Chargers. Cameron Dicker, he's been one of the more accurate kickers of all time in NFL history. And this Charger offense, another offense that stalled out a lot last season, and Dicker showing that range up to 55 yards, playing most of his games indoors as well, always helps. Obviously, Charger offense, I like what they do this offseason. Omarion Hampton, they drafted him. He's going to be electric running back add to the offense. Keenan Allen, they brought back after trading him away to the Bears last season. So this offense should get more touchdowns than they did last season. Those 2 guys added to this offense, and to go with Ladd McConkey, who had a breakout rookie season, but I still think Cameron Dicker, opportunities will be there. Like I said, one of the more accurate kickers of all time, and he's a top kicker this season. Number 3, Chris Boswell of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Steelers, they were a top team in field goal attempts last year. And Chris Boswell, I remember he had one game we hit something crazy, 6 or 7 field goals in one game as Boswell. Even with Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf added to this offense, I think they're going to stall out at times is this Pittsburgh Steelers team. Chris Boswell, just like Dicker, one of the more accurate kickers in NFL history, and he's got a great boot where he could kick it up to 60 yards. And a lot of those dog fights we're going to see in these teams are in those mid-teens, low 20s, some of these battles. So the opportunities will be there for Boswell once again this season. And like I said, he's been one of the more accurate kickers ever since he entered the league. Number 4, Ka'im Fairbairn of the Houston Texans. So Fairbairn playing indoors all his home games, which is a plus. Then Indianapolis in that division as well is an indoor stadium. So right there's 9-10 indoor games to start the season for Fairbairn without even looking at the schedule. And he's got a big boot. He's accurate, and this is a high-powered offense. Even though I know C.J. Stroud took a step back last season, you got Nico Collins, one of the better receivers in the league. They added Christian Kirk. Jaden Higgins, I think, could have a good rookie season. Dalton Schultz, a decent tight end for this Texan team. And we'll see what happens in the backfield. But like I said, Fairbairn, indoor ball games majority, he's going to play this season. He's got unlimited range, like I said, and he's going to put points on the board. We saw last year, and there's no reason why he can't be a top 5 kicker this year. Number 5, Jake Bates of the Detroit Lions, another indoor kicker, and he's unarguably the best offense in pro football. I think this season it's going to be close with Philadelphia, obviously with the Baltimore Ravens, Cincinnati Bengals. All these teams, they're in the hunt for the top 5 or even taking the number 1 spot offensively. But Bates, a lot of home games indoors. Lions, we know they're going to put points on the board. I know they lost Ben Johnson, their offensive coordinator, but this offense is stacked. Jared Goff at the helm, Gibbs Montgomery in the backfield, Amon-Ra Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams. So this offense, everyone's coming back from last season, and they're going to put points on the board, and Bates is going to get many opportunities. I know some games he'll be only going to get extra points, but still, if he could get, let's say, 4 or 5 extra points in a game and a 30, 40-yard, that's still 8-9 points per game. Number 6, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals on one of the more high-powered offenses in the league. Surprisingly, they re-signed Chase and Higgins, both a big contract extension, so this offense is back intact. Also, Chase Brown in the backfield, the running back, I like a lot entering the season. And Evan McPherson, I know last year a little shaky at times. He's not as accurate as he was a few years ago when he came into the league, but he's got a big boot. 50, 60-yard range McPherson has. And like I said, when you play on a high-powered offense like Cincinnati, where that football goes up and down the field a whole lot, the opportunities, he's just going to work his way into them. Just like Bates, if they score a lot of touchdowns and he gets, 1 or 2 field goals per game on top of 3, 4 extra points, the points will be there once again. Number 7, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. One of the more accurate kickers of all time as well is Harrison Butker. We know this Chief offense, the last 2 seasons, they've taken a step back in points per game. But obviously it's helped Harrison Butker in a way where they have to settle for field goals. I know Butker last season dealt with some injuries. He got a contract extension. And this Chief offense, I think, is going to be improved. They're going to have Rashee Rice at least for the first 4 games of the year. I say his suspension, if it comes down even this season, it'll be 3 or 4 games for Rice. And like I said, Butker's got a good boot. One of the more reliable kickers in the league, especially in crunch time and in the clutch, walking off ball games. And this season, once again, I think Butker will have a good one. Number 8, Will Lutz of the Denver Broncos. So this Bronco team last year, a solid first season for Bo Nix and this team, where they had a nice season. And this year they added more to the offense. Evan Ingram at tight end, drafted Pat Bryant, drafted R.J. Harvey in the backfield, signed J.K. Dobbins. So this offense is going to be improved. And we know that altitude over there in Denver, that ball really carries. And Will Lutz, even going back to his Saint days, even though we know that was an indoor stadium, he had a big boot and he was kicking easily 50, 55 yards. So this season with the Denver Broncos, an offense that did stall out a decent amount in the red zone last season, even though, like I said, they had the upgrades in Ingram, Harvey, and Dobbins added to this roster. I think Will Lutz still is going to have solid performance this season. And we know Sean Payton, he's not scared to trot him out there in long-range field goal attempts. Number 9, Chase McLaughlin of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the better offenses in the league, and they improved even more, I think, coming into the season. Now you can have Bucky Irvin starting from the get-go this year, where he's a way more better back. We saw him outperform Rachaad White last season. Obviously, Emeka Egbuka, first-round draft pick wide receiver, he's a playmaker. I know Chris Godwin's banged up. He might not be ready for the opener, but he'll be back sometime this season. Then you still got Mike Evans, 1,000-yard years, 11 seasons in a row. So with all those factors, and McLaughlin has a good boot, I think this season he goes out there once again and puts up points. Number 10, Jake Elliott of the Philadelphia Eagles. So another thing with Elliott, he's on an offense where they score a lot of touchdowns and obviously finish in the end zone, where you got A.J. Brown, you got Devonta Smith, you got the tush push, you got Dallas Goedert at the tight end position, Saquon Barkley, all finishes in the red zone, where he might be held to a lot of extra points per game is Jake Elliott. But this Eagle offense is a juggernaut. We saw them win the championship last season. We saw him dominate in the Super Bowl, putting a lot of points on the board. And Elliott, he's in a division where there's not really good defenses. Dallas, I don't think their defense is good. The Commanders, their defense is hit or miss, and we saw the Eagles in the NFC Championship blow them out. And also the New York Giants, their defense on paper is solid, but we'll see if they execute it on the field. So with all those factors, field goal attempts, extra point attempts, will be there all season long for Elliott. Number 11, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. Last couple seasons, he's taken a step back a little bit his career. He was one of the more accurate kickers of all time, but a lot of his games are going to be indoors this season. Obviously, all the home games indoors. New Orleans, an indoor stadium as well, obviously in that division. And Younghoe Koo, like I said, he's got a good boot, and his home road split's a big difference for him, where indoors he's pretty much automatic as Younghoe Koo. So this offense has all the returning players. Obviously, Drake London, great receiver. Obviously, Darnell Mooney, nice season last year in his first season with the Falcons. Bijan Robinson, one of the best backs in the league. And Michael Penix, I think he could surprise a little bit and go out there. But also, I could see this offense stalling out with the young quarterback, where they have to attempt field goals. So I think Younghoe Koo, he's fine as a top 12 option this year. Number 12, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So this Bill team, we know they finish zone a lot with Josh Allen's rushing ability and with the laser beam throwing he has in the red zone. And he's a good kicker, as Tyler Bass. I just think his deep ball isn't as good as it used to be 4 or 5 seasons ago. With Tyler Bass, he's hooked a lot of 45, 50-plus yarders over the last couple seasons. But obviously, one of the more high-powered offenses in all football is Tyler Bass. Josh Allen, obviously, James Cook re-signing a nice contract extension in the receiving room. Khalil Shakir, one of the better possession wide receivers last year. Joshua Palmer, they added Keon Coleman, they got, and obviously Dalton Kincaid. So this offense as a whole, led by Josh Allen, is going to be good. Points are going to be there. The only thing with Bass is if he could get back to hitting those 50, 55-plus yarders. 13, Will Richard of the Minnesota Vikings. So last season, first 5-6 weeks of the year, he was the best kicker in fantasy football. Then an injury did him in, and then he returned from injury, and he wasn't the same as Richard. So hopefully coming into this year, he's back to form where he was early last season. And this Viking offense, they might stall out with J.J. McCarthy in his first season as quarterback, even though we know they got a great offense Justin Jefferson, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason in the backfield, TJ Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, even though he's suspended the first 3 games of the season. But opportunities are going to be there for Richard. Obviously, they play all their home games indoors, which obviously is a huge factor, especially in those November, December months where it's freezing out there in Minnesota and you don't have to deal with the elements. I think Richard, as long as he get back to form, is a kicker you could get draft day and feel confident about. 14, Joshua Carty of the Los Angeles Rams. So this offense is high-powered. We know Matthew Stafford, he's banged up with a back injury. We don't know if he's going to be ready for the opener. But I think this offense, even with backup quarterback play, is going to get into field goal range. How can you not, even with a backup, with guys like Puka Nacua, Davante Adams, Kyron Williams signing his contract extension as well. So this offense, it's got great playmakers, a lot of explosiveness, a lot of big plays we're going to see from it this season. And Carty, last year, he was decent at times, but also he could be a kicker where he's got to settle for a lot of extra points with all these plays I just named in this high-powered offense, especially in a Sean McVay system. And the 15th and final kicker I'm ranking is Jason Sanders of the Miami Dolphins. So this Dolphin offense, everyone's returning except Jonnu Smith. They traded him away to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they traded for Darren Waller. We'll see if he has anything left in the tank. And Jason Sanders, he's got good range. He could kick that 50-plus yarder, no doubt about it. And this offense, as long as Tua is healthy, even though we know it's a big if, Tyreek Hill's still there, Jalen Waddle, Darren Waller, Devon Achane out of the backfield. So a lot of weapons in this Mike McDaniel offense. Jason Sanders, I think opportunities are going to be there for him as well. But like I said, if this offense gets back to form, you might have to settle for a lot of extra points. Or if he goes down again to it, we're going to see this team struggle to put points on the board. So that's the top 15 kickers I'm ranking entering the 2025 fantasy football season.